today to have Pocholo, who is a MMA practitioner. Pocholo, please introduce yourself to my followers.
Okay, well, hello followers. Yeah, my name is Pocholo Cruz. So I'm an MMA practitioner. I'm also an instructor at AMC Pankration. It's a gym located in Seattle, Washington. We had several champions such as Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson and Bibiano Fernandez training out of there. And my head coach is Matt Hume, who is also the vice president of One Championship. So I've been around quite a few high-level mixed martial artists. And I've personally been training MMA for, it's been about 13 years. And
is it from when you were younger, or you just picked up when the UFC came about?
Oh yeah, so I was first involved in boxing when I was really young, probably when I was about 5 or so years old. And then I did that for about three or so years until I was about 8. And then when I was 10 years old, my family moved from the Philippines to the United States. Right. And then I started wrestling in elementary school, like from there. And then I did that all throughout high school. And when I was when I was about 15, 16, so during high school, when the wrestling season was off, I actually found the MMA gym that I still train at. So,
okay, yeah. So I think from my experience, right? So boxing and because you started young, so there's a lot of training method that's involved in boxing, right? So you have experience with the training method of boxing. And also wrestling, there's also the training method of wrestling.
There's a lot of training methods, yeah.
So we can later on, talk about that field a little bit more. But I think boxing plus wrestling, it's very relevant in terms of MMA, because I think it's the two very important skills and in the category of skills that you need to have, right, to be successful in MMA today.
Yes, totally agree.
Please tell us how did you find out about Hyperarch fascia training? This is not a new training. This is like not even a mainstream training yet. But I know you came from a Filipino background. Most of my Filipino friends are basketball players.
They're really into basketball. But I'm actually not that into basketball. I'm like the rare Filipino that doesn't follow basketball. But yeah, so how I found about Hyperarch was through it was through a YouTube channel called, I believe, The Pioneer, and he mentioned your training like in briefly. So about the Hyperarch Hyperarch mechanism, and I had no idea what that was, but I just remember hearing it, and I decided to look up your website. And then I found Secrets of Athleticism, and I was just curious about it. And then just looking, I saw through YouTube videos, saw the stuff you have on your channel, like the hop and other things explaining it. And after like studying it, I was like, okay, I would want to explore this further. And then I remember, then I picked up your book and then also joined the Facebook group just to explore it. And I think it's been, I think I joined the group like a couple of months ago, so maybe like May or something like that. But but it's been pretty fascinating. And just something I could see like that could definitely translate to my own training and me training other people.
Right. Sure. Yeah. So have you been training for the past 2 months yourself?
Yes, I have.
Okay. Yeah. So what is the what do you feel in terms of your glutes and your feet and your body? What sensations do you have?
Yeah, so the sensations that I have is just recently I'm starting to actually feel, it's not that strong of a glute connection, but I'm feeling it when I'm actually when I'm stepping, when I'm hopping. I can feel like a slight, and I can I can contract my glutes when I do make contact with the ground when I do the meditation, but it's still developing for sure. Yeah.
Okay, so in the Philippines, because of where they're from, a lot of the kids in the Philippines, they play barefoot.
Yes.
Did you get a chance to do that also when you were
Yeah.
boxing?
Yeah. So when I was, pretty much when I lived there, until I moved, I didn't have shoes. I just had sandals essentially, but yeah, we trained barefoot. Yeah.
So you were pretty much barefoot growing up playing.
Yeah.
I mean training, right?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So barefoot, because I think there's a lot of people who are barefoot trainers, or they starting to be tired of the chronic knee pains they have, then they started to get rid of all the shoes that have like very comfortable cushions. They want to feel the floor, and then they start the barefoot training. But then even even they're training barefoot, they still somehow get injured. What is your uh, like? What do you say about that? Like, what do you think uh, it's wrong with people who just started to train barefoot versus somebody, let's say, start to train Hyperarch? Like, what do you see as a difference since you've been through both?
Yeah, I think the difference is that people that if they just go training barefoot is that they're probably just taking like too much of a load too soon. Like they don't actually understand like how to actually control their feet. That would be my guess, like from there. Because even before I had like hyper arch training, like I think just growing up barefoot, I just had stronger feet because I never really I never had any ankle problems, never had any knee problems at all, like throughout boxing or wrestling.
Right.
And yeah, and then throughout MMA, I've never had any serious ankle or knee injuries, and I've seen the people like in my in my sport get them all the time. I just didn't understand like about it, but after researching more, that makes a lot more sense about just being able to lock out the ankles, like from there actually being able to utilize your feet as like have pressure in them, like that.
Right.
That makes a lot of sense, and then being able to push off the ground. So I think that's the biggest thing. Like they just go in straight in right away without knowledge of actually how to use their feet, and just hoping that their feet will adapt without making like a conscious decision from there. That's how I would see that.
Right. So let's so I just want to bring out there later on in our podcast we're gonna talk about the fight between the UFC fighter that I'm helping, Zhang Wei Li versus Jessica Andrade, right? That's how you pronounce it.
Yeah, Jessica Andrade. Yes.
And Pocholo will actually share her expert analysis of Jessica, and we're trying to find out what her weakness is, and we're trying to exploit it. And the fight is going to be, the championship fight is going to be in August 31st in Shenzhen, China. I'm definitely going to watch it and tune in. If you're following my channel, you can also purchase ticket and go there and watch yourself. I think this is very important for hyperarch fascia training because the way that I see it is in the UFC world and also in any type of one-on-one combat, you are not allowed to gain a lot of weight. So you have a weight class, right?
Yes.
So within the same weight class, basically you cannot gain too much muscle hypertrophy, right?
Yeah.
So you cannot gain strength that way. So the way I see it is there's a lot of potential for hyperarch fascia training in this field because, first of all, fascia nerve training, this neurological training, it doesn't really increase your muscle mass. It is increasing the fascial connection from your feet to your glutes, and it makes the body more holistic. And also, it actually increases the connection to the glutes, so you can tap deeper into the gluteal fascia and your glutes. You can feel a much stronger contraction as you level up. It's I would say it's a process that if you grow up barefoot, you probably feel some glutes, right? Like you start off feeling some glutes first, right?
Yeah. It started off, and I remember because I did the assessment and I already had some feeling of glutes like already, but it was just never a conscious thing, never that I thought about. But then, I think I've picked it up fairly quickly, just trying to, already from that connection. Yeah.
Right. So the thing I want to tell you is because you grew up barefoot, it's easy for you to understand the connection part, right?
Yeah.
So here I am. I'm trying to present to the mainstream people who have very dormant glutes.
Yeah.
Like what I'm saying is they have, like, we do the 7-question assessment, they would have no connection whatsoever. They feel no glutes whatsoever, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm telling them, okay, you do this later on, you're gonna feel your glutes. They're like, what glutes? I never felt glutes. You know, what are you talking about? It's really hard to I think to talk about. I mean, even also what I think what's also very confusing for them is that you have all these mainstream trainers, they are broadcasting the message that, hey, we already figured this thing out with the glutes. All you have to do is this isolated hip bridge exercises, or you can do put a band on your knee, just start crab walking, using a hip abduction kind of way to work your glutes. So they are basically stopped research. They stop basically look into this any further. They just say, okay, I already have the answer. This is what you do with your glutes. That's it. Mm-hmm. But because my passion is for basketball and for winning, you know, it was because of the passion that I have for sports that I realized, no, this is not the answer. There is something much deeper, much more profound. So that is the reason that I've now, you know, begin to talk about this, and I'm putting a lot of my time and my effort to make this training known to other people. Let's talk about your training experience of boxing.
Okay.
How do you like, if you want to become a boxer, like what type of exercises that they will put you through?
Yeah, so I was put through a lot of, when I was training in the Philippines, it's a lot of just, there wasn't really a lot of equipment. It was just we mainly jump roped a lot. We just moved around in a ring. Like the medicine ball was used, but it was mainly just a lot of drilling, or like moving with a partner, or moving with a coach, like from there. So that and like reactionary drills. So yeah, that was the main drilling for boxing part, or main training for boxing.
Okay, so I think a lot of people watch the movie
like Rocky.
Rocky, right? So Rocky, he would run in the morning, and he would eat the raw eggs.
Yeah, he eats the raw eggs.
You could do any of that?
No. That's pretty far. That's like, once again, that just looks good for movies. Like, really, a lot of the stuff that that really constructs of boxing is a lot more boring. It's a lot more footwork, like drills, like understanding like when to slip, like a lot of defense. Like from there, it's a lot more it's a lot more really understanding like how to move around another person, because that's what the sport of boxing is, moving around like somebody else.
Right. So now, so now I think that there's a lot of people who don't understand about Hyperarch. Is they say, okay, so you're doing the hop, so why don't you just do jump rope, right? So that's also hopping. Like, what do you think about that? Since you know your jump rope, and now you know the Hyperarch hop, what is the difference?
Oh man, well, the main difference is just what you're doing with your feet. I remember when I've jump rope for years, but I never actually thought about, you know, utilizing like my feet as a pressure point. I would just, you know, blindly just try. It's so much like actually when you're kicking, or when you're trying to make contact with your feet, like if I hit a heavy bag or something, and that's what made it like easy for me. But actually utilizing pressure and actually trying to bounce off the ground, that was a brand new sensation that even for me, I've trained for years and never really experienced that. Like, so it's totally different from just jumping rope.
Right. So if you're jumping rope, your whole body is trying to jump over obstacle. So whatever the most dominant neurological pattern you have in your body is going to use that to jump over the obstacle. But versus Hyperarch hopping is that you are actually putting a lot of tension in your foot, your ankles locked, and when you jump like that, you actually work out your glutes. your gluteal fascia is being used. Also, when your foot is in isometric state, you're actually using a lot of when your foot is in isometric, using your fascia. You actually so do you feel right when you hop with your feet with your feet tension? Do you feel like you're moving a little bit better in terms of getting into your opponent and coming out of it?
Yes, for sure. Like since I've implemented actually like attempting to trying to lock my ankles and move like with my footwork, I felt like a lot quicker, a lot more I'm able to cover distance a lot more. And I feel, I feel just quicker, like in general, like I'm able to move in and out a lot faster. I'm able to just be more balanced in general. So I feel like I'm moving quicker without actually having to try more, like from there.
Right. So it's more of like a effortless kind of thing, but it's natural, right?
Yeah.
What is your hop time right now for 2 leg and 1 leg?
I've just been 2 legs, but it's about like about 4 minutes, 4 or 5 minutes.
4 or 5 minutes. Okay. Yeah. That's very good. So once you hit the 5-minute mark, you are basically ready to challenge yourself for the 1 leg hop, and that would really really work out your glutes and also the fascia connection. And from there, you can also find out if you have imbalance, because in assessment we have a balance test, and you can understand if you have imbalance better by your hop times, because usually the foot that is weaker, you can't hop that long with fascia tension on. So that's the way it is. So let's talk about the boxing training you had, right?
Okay.
Do boxers how much work do you guys train with weights at all?
No, I didn't train with weights.
Okay,
Yeah.
so how do
and
you guys?
I was also a kid at the time, so yeah, we didn't. Yeah, we didn't have weights, and we didn't have access to it. Yeah.
Okay, so how do you guys train for punching power?
For punching power, essentially just hitting the bag, and then we did push-ups. That was pretty much it. Yeah.
Oh, that was just push-ups and punching and more punching, right?
Yeah.
So how many years from you were 5? How many years?
I spent about 3 years training boxing.
3 years training. Okay, but you guys did the pad work with the hand, right?
Yes.
You did a lot, there's a lot of combination punches that you have to do?
Yeah.
Okay. And what about defensive moves? Do they also teach you how the most efficient way to dodge attacks, and also avoid being punched in the chin?
Yeah. So I mean, as far as like the boxing training, like I learned is that distance is your most important defense, like being able to move in and out. And then if you do need to block, or blocks or parries, or also like slips, like being able to move your head to the outside, like from there. But from what I learned, the most important way to avoid is just controlling the distance, either being too far away to hit or too close to actually throw an effective punch. So that was the main training.
Okay.
Defense.
Yeah. Have you watched I think there was a clip on YouTube where who is this karate this movie guy, his last name is White.
Michael Jai White.
Yeah, Michael Jai White. Yeah.
Okay.
He was talking about punching, right?
Yeah.
How your wrist, how your arm should be like an arrow, and it should go straight in and out.
Straight through. I think I'm familiar with that.
Right.
Yeah.
And then I think he was at that time he was talking to
was he talking to Kimbo Slice?
Yeah, he was talking to Kimbo Slice. He was saying
I have seen that video.
How he did the slow punch, how somehow he hit his hand, right?
Yeah.
So that was a very, very fascinating how he was able to hit it with the slowest punch.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. It was very interesting. Yeah.
Right? I thought that was pretty interesting. And it's the stuff like that like even for well, I had like a martial arts background, but I never hear actually people talking about that and actually demonstrate, you know, in terms of like just a deep understanding of how really, you know, our body perceives punches, right? He was using the analogy of the car, like if it's coming straight at you in a direct way,
Yeah.
if the light of the car on the brake light it doesn't have the brake light, you wouldn't know like how close it is. I mean, have you been punched like that, like just straightforward, and then you don't know even what happened, you just got hit?
Yeah, no, for sure. Because like the quickest punch comes straight at you, and
Mhm.
yeah, if you're not ready for it, that's why, I mean, that's why in boxing you're taught you don't want to look at the hands, because if you focus in, it's your vision is not as well. You can't really tell how far away something is. That's why when I'm looking, if someone's punching me, I'm not looking at their hands. I'm really looking more at their chest or shoulder area, because that's
That's for
what
sure.
I'm gonna tell. Like, because I want to develop that peripheral vision. Like,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So then, if I notice something, then that's when that's my cue to move. I don't want to look at the hands themselves, like from there, because if I focus too much on that, that won't really help me for defense wise.
Right. So controlling the distance, control your range, it's very important,
Oh,
right?
it's critical. Yeah, from there. Yeah.
So like your hands actually is like a measuring stick, like you're
Yes.
you're trying to understand where your target is. If you have a long reach, you want to keep the guy at bay in a certain distance so you can have the deliver the maximum power, right? But if
Yeah.
you have a shorter reach, you want to get closer.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. It's like that's why I was taught that the jab is like your scout. That's what you use to realize or to see like how, if you're too close or too far away. It's like what you said, it's a measuring stick, because if you can hit with your jab, then that means you can make contact with your other punches as well, like from there. So it's being able, like a lot of boxing is being able to discern distance for like really how far away you are from somebody, if you can enter offensive range, and then from there, like what combinations you want to do, and then once you're done with your offense, then being able to move, because you don't want to stay engaged, because then the other person can also uh, do their offense on you. So it's a matter of being able to dictate distance and when you want to engage from there.
Mm-hmm. But do you learn about which, well, since we're on the topic of the hand and reach, right? So I don't know if you noticed this. Um, in the who was that fighter that just fought Jessica Andrade and lost? Her name is Rose.
Oh, Rose Namajunas.
Right. I couldn't
Yeah,
pronounce
no,
her
are
last
you
name.
talking about the woman that got slammed, KO'd?
Right.
Yeah.
See that fight. I feel like she was in control most of the fight,
Oh yes. I would agree. Yeah.
but then it was. I think it's more like an accident thing that she got slammed and then somehow she landed on her head, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but I want to continue to talk about the reach thing, the reach
Yeah.
thing. So she had a longer reach, right?
Yes.
I don't know if you noticed this. There's a multiple occasions she would just put her hands out and leave it there,
Yeah.
right? To basically say, okay, this is my striking range. If your face is gonna touch certain part of the glove, I know you're gonna get hit,
Yeah.
right? I don't know if you noticed that.
Oh yeah, no, I didn't notice that. Yeah, she had a long jab. She would just leave her
Yeah,
hand
she would
out
just
there.
leave it there.
Yeah.
You know who else does that?
Let's see. Or like what, boxer wise, or
No, like in the UFC, who else does that?
let's see who else does that.
Like,
I think McGregor does that a lot as
yeah,
well.
McGregor does that too.
Yeah. Yeah.
But let me tell you something crazy, right? So
Okay.
in the martial arts training that
Mm.
so that's my when I was younger. There's no boxing in China, right? There's really like you either learn the martial arts or that's what it is. That's the martial arts you learn. So the style that I learned at the time is called changquan. That means like the long fist.
Okay.
So they teach you to basically put your hands out, and
Yeah.
then they want you to kick your foot to your hands.
Huh. Okay.
So there's a drill like that. That you will be just putting your hands out, and you put your arm like this, and then you will kick, and then you will put your hand out, and then the foot supposed to hit the hand.
Okay.
So at that time, I was too young to understand what the
Yeah.
significance is. But now if you understand, okay, your arm is a measuring stick, right? So you are basically built in a way that your arm length and your leg length is dictated in like a ratio. So if your arm can hit somebody, and then if you just kick, of course you're gonna hit somebody.
Yeah, you're gonna hit somebody. Yeah.
Right. So now I get it. Like back then when I was training,
yeah, it wasn't apparent as a child while you were doing it.
Right. I was like, I never understood why they make us do that. But now I understand, because your hand is really a measuring stick.
Yeah.
And if your hand can measure, sure. If your hands can reach the guy, or if your leg is a little bit longer than your hand. So if your hand is like maybe a couple inches from the chin, you can just kick, and then the kick is definitely go for the shin.
It's gonna land. Yeah.
Right. So it's a little longer. So that's what I found really, really fascinating. So you had 3 years of boxing training.
Yes.
And when you moved to the States, you had wrestling training.
Yes. Yes.
Okay. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So it was. Yeah, it's different, of course, from boxing, because now instead of punching, your goal is different. Your goal is to essentially off balance, or to put your opponent, like to pin them, so to get their shoulders to touch the mat. So it was different in that regard, but what was the same was essentially like the mechanics of the important things of sport, like being able, like what's important was like technique, being able to move, and then being able to dictate pretty much balance was the key thing. That's what I remember. Like my big lesson, like from wrestling, is that you're trying to control position, and then you're trying to force the other person into a position where they can't get out of. It's essentially like checkmate them from there.
Okay. So you did the freestyle?
I did. So no, I did. Let's see, in the States, what they call it, folk style wrestling. So I did folk style wrestling. Freestyle was like, so folk style is what they do in school. Freestyle is more of, I believe that's what's in the Olympics. But I did some freestyle, but mainly what I did was folk style. But I did freestyle and also Greco-Roman, but just not as seriously. Yeah.
Okay. So what is the scoring system? Does the scoring system differ between all these styles?
Yes. So the scoring system for folk style, it's a lot more position based. So by that, I mean, I'd say like the big, because it's been a while, but I'm not too familiar with the freestyle rules. But pretty much the biggest thing for folk style wrestling is that being able to there's a referee's position, so being able to hold somebody or being able to escape, there's a lot more points awarded to being able to hold position and escape, as opposed to freestyle. I would say that's the biggest difference from folk style and freestyle.
Okay. So in wrestling, like what are some of the training methods for wrestling?
Yeah, so training method for wrestling, it was pretty similar. Let's see, didn't really do any weight training. I remember, yeah, even in high school we had a weight room, but the coach made us we had these, like, we moved these like sandbags essentially, because he noticed, like, well, when you're moving a human body, it won't be perfectly balanced like a weight, so you got to get used to moving something that's, I guess, like an uneven weight. That was his explanation, but it was mainly a lot of wrestling, a lot of actually doing the sport. We would run as well, and do a lot of calisthenics, like a lot of like push-ups and like body weight squats. From there, but yeah.
So you did running.
Yeah, yeah, we did running.
Is it so let's talk about running, right? So I noticed
Okay.
I've seen coaches have different approach to running. Do you guys do sprint inside the wrestling gym, or do you guys actually run for
Yeah,
like
so
1 mile?
we did both. We did both like sprinting in the wrestling gym, and then we would also go on these like long, like mile or so runs like outside. Yeah. So
Okay.
yeah, so we did both. Yeah.
So I think the did you ever ask your coach why you guys, because wrestling has nothing to do with running, why do you guys run sprint?
Why we did running? No,
Why are you running? Why are you running?
I didn't ask because I remember somewhat there was another wrestler that did ask, and then they just made us run more, like from there without explaining to us. So
See,
yeah, so I was like, oh well, I don't want to run more. So yeah,
okay, so nobody asked questions.
yeah, no one asked questions really.
See, this is also, I mean, joke aside, right? So
Yeah.
I think there is a type of thing going on with athletic training, especially let's say if I think it's very similar to what happened in China before. So you have this martial arts master, right? Master. He goes out there, beats like 20 people, 20, 30 people by himself, right?
Yeah.
Then once you become a master, obviously people will gravitate towards him and they want to learn. So what is what is he doing that other people are not doing? Then from there, he has basically, so you know about the theory of hyperarch, which means if you have it, your feet are morphed, then you have exceptional performance.
Yeah.
But then if this thing is subconscious, he cannot tell people, right?
Yeah.
So then he would be telling people from the way he understands how the body is supposed to move and what works for him.
Yes.
Right? So then he will be, because remember, he's not a doctor, he's not a physician. He doesn't do dissection, he doesn't understand how fascia, tendon, everything else works.
Yeah.
Right? But he knows what worked for him.
Yeah.
But then the problem is with that is he has a very high fascia level. So he could be very glutes dominant. He could be like level 4 and above. But the pupil or the student that he's training could be level 1, level 2, or could have no glutes.
Mm-hmm.
So what is working for him? So for example, let's say sprinting for him it's a glutes exercise because he's glute dominant. So when he sprints, there's a lot of glute sensation. He gets glute torque. So he feels like this is really, for me, it works. But now he tells his pupil to do that. But because let's say he has a student who's quad dominant, then he runs, all he feels is quad. There is no glutes. So for him, it doesn't do anything. But then he can't even ask the question, why am I doing this? So now he doesn't understand why he cannot become the same level as this master. But then the problem with that is that he can't even ask the question, because if he actually get the chance to ask the question, right, to challenge the authority a little bit, and if the master tells him, you know what, the reason that you're running is because when I run, there's a lot of glutes. I feel like my glutes getting stronger. That's why I want your glutes to get stronger. So I want you to run. Then it will open the conversation. You see what I mean? Then the student will say, but master, I don't feel glutes. Then you will realize, okay, there is a whole uncharted territory you have to explore. Why this person doesn't feel glutes, about why you feel glutes. What is the difference? Trying to find out the difference, right? So I think that's not just, that's just not a right way to, to disseminate information, especially about, I feel like in the physical athletic training arena, there's a lot of, not only trainers, not only coaches do that, a lot of trainers do that too, is like, or like a lot of the elite athlete who became trainers. And they're so, or those really famous trainer who have like 1 million or 2 million followers. Then you ask them questions and then they just, be like, no, you don't ask me questions. This is just how it is.
Yeah, because they don't know how to reverse engineer their own methods. Like from there, they don't really actually know what made them. I think that's a very good point, and it's one thing too, because I teach martial arts as well, so I need to. I look at it the same way. All these methods that I do are things that work for me, But just because like I show them to my students, I don't expect my students to be able to do it exactly like me. I just imagine they have to figure it out on their own, how to make the techniques their own. So I totally agree with that. It's like there's got to be a conversation and how the methods are, for sure. There's got to be more. Yeah, you have to be, if you truly know what you're doing, you should be able to explain like why.
Let's talk about the what your analysis is for.
Okay. Yeah, for Jessica Andrade.
Yeah, what's her? Yeah. What do you think her weaknesses?
Yeah, so she's a very, what I would call like a linear like direction fighter. Like for her, like if you look at her losses or at where she struggled, so she's two fights of note. Like one, her fight with Angela Hill, which she actually won, but what Angela Hill was able to do was like move around her, but she just wasn't able to land any deliver like enough power to actually stop her. But she's a very come forward kind of fighter. She doesn't really corner or cut off like the cage. She just kind of relies on pressing forward and then hoping that the person or that her opponent kind of like just either engages with her or gets wrapped up in the clinch like from her. So if you look at her fight with her loss against Joanna Jędrzejczyk, who was the former strawweight champion, what happened is that she just got jabbed all day because Joanna would never stand in a straight enough line. She would always angle off, jab, angle off, like from there. And I mean, Andrade was able to land like a couple punches, but really most of the fight she was just left chasing after somebody that would not move in a straight line, that would always circle like around her. And that's how, and I think that's her biggest weakness, is that she's not really she doesn't really utilize cornering people, and she's not really able to move around circles. Like she's really like a straight come forward fighter. And even like if you look at her fight against Rose, her last fight, yeah, I would say like, yeah, Rose was definitely winning or getting the better of the striking exchanges. I mean, just what happened is that Rose allowed herself to get caught like right in close range by not circling out, and then that's how she got slammed and knocked out. You know, so I feel like if she had like, who knows, like if Rose had been able to get slammed and then not get knocked out and then continue fighting, who knows if Andrade would have been able to to get more sustainable offense. So that's my analysis in a nutshell of Jessica Andrade's fighting style.
So she's very linear, meaning like going from here to straight line to the opponent.
Very like straight line. I feel like the biggest thing is that if you're able to circle like around her, because it's just harder to change direction like from there. She's not really utilizing what's called like controlling the cage or shortening. Like if you attack, it's like, yeah, just like basically if you're like in like war formations, if you're able to dictate where someone's moving, then you can dictate where to hit them. Like from there, she kind of relies really on her physicality and ability to take shots to then eventually wear people down.
Yeah. Do you think if someone were to fight her in the cage, do you think they should be let her stand in the middle and then just try to circle around her and have her chase guy? Or
I think that's definitely a method. Yeah, just pretty much being able to not let her get her feet set. It's kind of like she's kind of like her, so she does her best in like pretty close range. She swings like pretty wide punches, but if you just keep straight hitting her, then she does really have an answer for that. If you're able to circle, straight punches, maybe even kick like from there, but don't allow her to get her close range or being able like to hit. I think it takes away a lot of what she's of what her main game is. Yeah.
Okay. So we're training Zhang Weili, right? So the part that we are trying to improve upon is the foot strength and also the fascia connection from the foot to the glutes, so she can get in and get out quicker.
Yes.
And also we're integrating to punches where we're trying to develop power. We do this drill where we get into hyperarch, we hop, and then we say go, and we'll hop into the heavy bag, and we would punch 15 to 20 seconds really hard, and then take from there. And the goal of that is really try to develop punching power and not really accuracy, but really the punching power and how to utilize the hyperarch mechanism with glutes engaged, and then your heel do not touch the ground.
Okay.
Because anytime the feet anytime the feet is elevated off the ground, with hyperarch, there's always going to be more glutes. There's more recruitment of the glutes. So if you can link that to your punches, it's going to be harder than, let's say, your heels on the ground. And I don't know if you noticed, that's how exactly what Pacquiao does. Because when he does the punch, his heel never touched the ground.
I never, because I've seen Pacquiao's training so often, but it's funny, once I built that connection or understood, that explains a lot. That explains, like, he's 40, he's fighting tonight, but he's like 40 years old and still able to be, to fight at a high level. So I'm like, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Yeah. It's like why he's so quick, why he's able to develop so much power and so much speed, for sure.
Right. So he's punching basically holistically from the glutes, and the regular people cannot do that. The segment is, so they're punching from the arm, also through the muscle. The muscle is very consumes a lot of oxygen. There's also the lactate acid buildup. So once you get tired, fatigued, your muscle basically lose power. So, but if you become fascia driven, that's not a problem for you. You're always on your glutes, and your glutes is basically you actually adrenaline and all the chemicals in your body fire up your central nervous system, and your fascia is basically being pumped with electricity.
Okay.
So that's where the power comes from, and I don't know if you know this already from my group. There's 4 levels, where so the first level is basically some glutes, and second no glutes, but you can lock up your ankle. Second level is when you can feel some contraction in your glutes, and third level is very strong compression in the glutes, and then the fourth level is when your abs and glutes connect, and then the level of connection also improves, because some people they flex a little bit of abs, they feel a little bit of contraction, but if you keep on training hyperarch, you're gonna feel a lot of contraction just by flexing your abs. So this also is very good in terms of MMA and also boxing, is that it's resistant to damage. You're engaging your glutes, you're engaging your abs at the same time.
Yeah.
So you kind of just walk into their punch, but then because your abs it's holistically connected, you won't get hurt much.
Yeah, and I think, your earlier point too about weight class based sports, it's like, boxing, MMA, they're both weight class. Like wrestling, it's also weight class based. So being able to get stronger without gaining weight, that's a huge advantage, like, for sure. And then finding out more about hyperarch mechanism. I look at elite MMA athletes and I was like, okay, I definitely see that. Like I remember your post on it was Israel Adesanya and Anderson Silva fighting, and they both had a hyperarch mechanism, or more feet. So
morph, right?
That's a surprise.
Yeah, and that's like, he is like he had the longest winning streak.
Yeah.
UFC, right?
Yeah, I believe. Yeah, I think he won. Yeah, Anderson Silva. It's pretty consecutive. It was a pretty long consecutive record, but it's no surprise. Yeah.
Cool, man. Thanks for your analysis on Jessica. Do you have a favorite right now in terms of the people that you like in the UFC? Like you can pick a guy and also a woman. Like you really think that their fighting style is good, the way they fight is good.
Okay, let's see if I could pick. I would say, let's see, one woman and one. I actually like, even though she just lost, I like Rose's fighting style. I think I think actually like she poses a lot. Yeah, I think she poses a lot of problems to a lot of people. I think she's like a slick striker and possesses a lot of power, especially for like for a woman that's own name that's in that weight class. I like Rose. As far as
by the way, sorry to interrupt you. I also found a picture of her foot morphed.
Morphs as well. Okay, no surprise because she doesn't look like she could hit hard, but then she has like knockout power. It's
right.
That makes perfect sense on that sense. Okay, let's see. As far as male, there's a lot of good fighters, but personally, like for me, like Jose Aldo, I think that's one that stands out. Like for me, he was the former featherweight champion. He got knocked out by McGregor, but I feel like his overall like his striking, like real dangerous, his wrestling defense, and I feel like there's a lot of aspects of his game that I respect a lot for sure.
So you think he should get us another chance at McGregor?
I mean, McGregor probably won't want that fight again, but I think he's just a good fighter, and I think he gets a lot of he lost a lot of credibility since he lost to McGregor, but he's still like an all-time great fighter, like to me.
Right.
I would say, yeah.
Yeah, the way I see fighting is anything could happen. I don't think like you knock out somebody out in like 2 seconds as real skill. I feel like that there's a lot of luck to it.
No, I totally agree with that. I mean, the way I look at that, it's like percentages. It's like, you can make a half-court shot like 1 out of 1,000 times. Just because you do it once doesn't mean you can do it all the time. But I think people get that sense like, oh, because he did it once, he can do it like again. Like, no, not necessarily. That's not how that works. It's like you still need to go out and do it. But,
yeah, I totally agree. So it's like at a high level, it's really about consistency, right?
Yes.
Then some, because I think what young people who haven't spent enough time in sports, they really amazed at half court shots or like somebody who gets knocked out in like 2 seconds. They think that's awesome. But if you actually been through training yourself, and you really understand the sports that you're in, you think, okay, it's nothing.
No, exactly. Like if you actually understand the sport, you value consistency more than anything. It's like, oh, they can do it once, but what about person with the best shooting percentage, or the person with the best like highest like winning percentage? From there, like there's a lot more smaller aspects of the game that actually are important than like the big razzle dazzle of long shots or like knockouts. Like there's a lot of small parts that are more important in the overall game, for sure.
Right. Cool, man. I think our time is up.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yeah.